Spectrum wants to hear your views. You can SMS at any time during the show. Type Spectrum, leave a space, type in your contribution and name, then send it to 7197. Your views, our interviews on Spectrum, Radio 1 FM 90.
A very warm welcome. This is Spectrum on Radio 1. My name is Edmond, Kizito, your host. On Spectrum tonight, the warring parties in the Sudan conflict resort to diplomacy. What do they expect from neighboring countries such as Uganda? As the conflict between the Republic of Sudan and South Sudan continues, the guns have gone silent, and now the focus has turned to diplomacy, with both countries dispatching emissaries to all capitals in the Great Lakes region and beyond to try and make their case. Delegations from the two countries have been in Uganda to seek foreign intervention to avoid an all-out confrontation, although both sides insist they each are ready to defend their territory if they are attacked or provoked. This conflict was sparked off when South Sudan took control by force of arms the oil-rich region, the oil-rich town of Heglig. But international pundits say there are bigger contradictions and unresolved issues within the 2005 Comprehensive Peace Agreement that are critical if the two nations are to coexist. Others have suggested that the disagreements between the Arab North and the Black South are historical, and that even the attainment of independence by the South is not a guarantee for lasting peace. The role of foreign powers, notably China, the United States and neighboring countries, is also being questioned. As for Uganda, an immediate neighbor of South Sudan, an all-out war could lead to instability and an influx of refugees. To augment these concerns, there are reports that Khartoum has resumed contact with the LRA, while at the same time the number of refugees in border districts in northern Uganda has shot up. So tonight we look at the latest efforts by the two countries to resolve the conflict, as we also continue to analyze the factors behind this conflict and how it can be avoided beyond tomorrow. We also look at the options for Uganda and the neighboring countries now that they have all been approached by diplomats from both countries. Our guests tonight, Ambassador David Amol, Humanitarian Attache at the South Sudan Embassy in Uganda. You're most welcome, Ambassador Amol.
Thank you.
We're also joined by Ambassador Harod Achema, retired Ugandan Diplomat, now a consultant on international affairs. You're most welcome, Ambassador Achema.
Thank you, Edmond.
Ambassador Amol, could you begin by telling us what the latest is in this Sudan conflict in Sudan?
Good evening to all the listeners, and my name's David Amol Major. I'm the SPLM representative, and at the same time Humanitarian Attache in the Embassy of the Republic of South Sudan here in Kampala. The latest, of course, is for us, we did not just went to war. We were on the table talking on the leftover issues after the secession. After the 26th of March this year is when the Khartoum delegation left the talks in Addis Ababa, headed by the higher panel on the African Union, led by former President of South Africa, Thabo Mbeki, and they went back and resort to attacking the position of the South Sudan, and this is what happened exactly after the retaliation. They were followed up and pushed out of Pantau, that they named Idlij, and the latest is that we had to go back and talk if they are ready to come back and talk, because for us, we did not want to continue with the war that they have inflicted on us since time immemorial, since their immigration from wherever they might have been coming from, because they were not African by then. That is something that we should know from day one, that those inhabiting North Africa were not African.
All right, we'll talk about some of the issues you've just raised. For instance, some people think it's you who actually invaded Heglig, but we'll talk about that in more detail later. Ambassador Achema, this window of peace, do you think it's going to hold?
I hope so, and I think it's worth trying, because the unfortunate conflict between South Sudan, which is a new country, barely 1 year old, which deserves all the support all of us in the region should give them, including the government in Khartoum. I think this is an unfortunate beginning, and I think and I hope that the diplomatic efforts will succeed and yield positive results, because this conflict which has been imposed on South Sudan by Khartoum is a serious threat to regional peace and security. And I'm pleased to note that the United Nations Security Council has been seized of this matter, so has been the African Union. And unfortunately, the Bashir's regime is not implementing the decision of the Security Council. And these decisions are mandatory for all member states of the UN. And I think the Security Council must insist that the government in Khartoum abides by the terms of the Security Council resolution. And so this is a challenge for the Security Council, and a member state of the UN, namely the Republic of South Sudan, has been attacked and has been threatened. And I think the Security Council must own up and implement its decisions. In fact, I would have wished them to impose a no-fly zone, like they did elsewhere of Khartoum, so that they don't continue with the bombings of innocent people in South Sudan. And who knows, they have ever bombed Uganda. They might even one day fly and bomb us here. But this conflict is a threat to peace and security in the region, and it must be stopped as soon as possible. Thank you.
All right, we'll talk about those implications and the bombings, as you mentioned, in the UN Security Council resolution. But first of all, Ambassador Amol, it is generally known or believed to be that you invaded Sudan, you occupied Heglig, which is supposed to be a North Sudan. Let me use that term for clarity. A North Sudan territory. How do you explain their own aggression, your allegations about their own aggression? You invaded them.
No, this is not true. We did not invaded them. When you talk of Pantou, it is Pantou, Panthou. It is not a glitch. And you remember when these foreigners came, they just come and nicknames our villages, graveyards, and so forth, in order to grab them. And then this is what they did exactly. They come there and even talked of Pantou to be glitch. They said Toma, and this is called Kolek. And we have all these indigenous names. Therefore, what happened? It was on the 26th of March exactly when they attacked our position. By then I was attending a meeting organized by the SPLM, the Sudan People Liberation Movement, National Liberation Council meeting, and they attacked the position at around 11 a.m. And later on at 3 they were dislodged and the town was captured by the SPLA. That was the same day when we were told to sign the non-hostility pact by the UN Security Council and the African Union in Addis Ababa. So the Minister of Defense in Khartoum decided not to come when ours went up to Addis Ababa of the same date of the 26th of March. So the fighting escalated, and after all, they were sent out of town, and we controlled the town for almost 13 days until when our president got so much pressure, calls from all over for those well-wishers who would want everything to be resolved peacefully, including the Pope. And
the Pope called Salva Kiir.
Yes, and told Salva Kiir that you withdraw your forces from there. Let us go in back to the dialogue and talk. This is when we withdrew from there and leave the town, but it does not, jeopardize our claim that Panto remain ours. Because in the map of what we have signed in 1956, and this is the colonial map, and it was signed during the Comprehensive Peace Agreement within the CPA, that should South Sudan succeed to become an independent country, the boundary will be from 1st January 1956. And this is what we did exactly. So if you go by that borderline, therefore Panto will be 70 kilometers inside south of Sudan. So it is not their country, and it will never be.
Let's get this very clear. You're saying that Heglig actually belongs to South Sudan. Let's get back to the CPA and the independence that you got last year, July the 9th. Why did you get into independence without demarcating the border? Does that not complicate matters?
Oh yes, that is a good question. But the first thing that we did immediately after we signed the peace agreement, we had to form what you call joint integrated unit. 25,000 soldiers from the SPLA and 25,000 soldiers from the Sudan Armed Force. We set this joint integrated unit in all along the borders line. And immediately in 2006, we went in to implement the protocol on the Abyei Boundary Commission. And Abyei Boundary Commission, we went in, we brought experts, including the colonial masters from UK and the rest, and then we said, okay, let us demarcate. Instead, they went in and looked into few areas where there are more conflict. And if I can take you back, or just only to flash your mind back to the Court of Arbitration about Abyei in 2007. Therefore, this is what happened. They went and played down not to implement the Boundary Commission. And the Boundary Commission chairperson by then was President al-Bashir. So this is what happened. They did not want to demarcate because they wanted to scratch into our country.
So what's the way forward? When can we expect this boundary to actually be, because it has to be marked eventually?
Now, we are told, as Ambassador mentioned before, we are not doing all this like those years of before when it was civil war or what. We are playing along the other African or international nations that have an interest here and there between both of us. Therefore, what we would want to see into it is that we have to abide with the call for a peaceful resolution, that we have to go back to Addis Ababa and talk peace. Two, we need a guarantees or the United Nations Security Council to send in peacekeepers that will be aligned along the borders, and demarcation has to go through. It has to be accepted by both.
And the UN-aided process.
And the UN, under the UN monitoring mission.
Yeah. So you expect the UN needs to come in and resolve that issue?
They have to come in. If not, we will do it on the other way.
And do you think Heglig will come down to the south?
It is 70 kilometers.
Inside
South Sudan.
Listeners, this is Spectrum on Radio 1. Tonight, the warring parties in the Sudan conflict resort to diplomacy. What do they expect from neighbouring countries and Uganda in particular? Our guests tonight, Ambassador David Amol, from the South Sudan Embassy in Uganda. He's actually the Humanitarian Attache there. And Ambassador Harod Achema, retired Ugandan Diplomat, also consultant. Right now he's a consultant on international affairs. He was in the diplomatic service for over 30 years. Ambassador Achema, can you give us some context on this? What are the sticking issues here that divide the two Sudans?
Well, I think the official from the Embassy of Sudan, South Sudan has made it very clear. The border has not been demarcated. The South Sudan Republic is willing to have a joint commission to demarcate this border under UN supervision, if not at least under AU supervision, so that a mutually acceptable border is demarcated. It's a long border. The border between South Sudan and Khartoum is very long. What you conveniently call North Sudan is a long border. It has not been. It is on there on the map, but it's not been demarcated on the ground. That is what needs to be done. Khartoum is not willing to undertake this exercise because see that some of the areas like you're being, like this area where the current conflict was sparked off, these are rich areas which are rich in oil fields, and as he said, the area is 70 kilometers inside South Sudan.
That's Heglig, which he says it's actually Panthu.
Yes,
somewhere.
I've seen the map. I've not been physically there, but I've seen it on the map, and certainly it's very much inside. Now, if I may just add to what he said, you see, if you go further back in history, do you know what the name Sudan actually means? Sudan means land of black people.
Land of black people.
Yes. You see, the people who are now in Khartoum came to Africa, I think, in the 7th, 8th century, somewhere in that age. 7th.
The death of the Holy Prophet.
Yes,
is when the wicked Arabs were pushed to Africa.
Yes, So really, we're not saying that they should go back to where they came from, but you see, sometimes when you hear Bashir speaking this belligerent, militant language, it's as if our brothers in South Sudan are the people who have just come here. We've been here for centuries, for goodness sake. And really, it is totally unacceptable for Bashir to call Southern Sudanese insects. Bashir is a very desperate man. Bashir should be in the Hague.
He's wanted by the...
He should be there. And he will be there one day. I think let him pick a lesson from Charles Taylor. He will run, he cannot hide. They'll get him.
Well, Malawi has said they can't accept him to visit their country for a conference soon.
He should be in the Hague. He's overdue. He should be there. And in fact, if leave alone that, even internally, he has a lot of difficulty, a lot of problems. So for him, it's convenient to create some external problem to deflect attention from his own internal problems.
All right. Can you shine a torch for us 1 year from now, assuming the demarcation is done? What will happen 1 year from now? What can we expect to see?
What we hope will happen is that this matter can be resolved amicably using diplomatic means, and that the border can be demarcated, and that South Sudan should be left to develop. South Sudan has more pressing, urgent matters to attend to than quarreling with, I won't even say Sudan, quarreling with Bashir's regime. It's really, you see, even within in Khartoum, there are many people who don't support what he's doing. So we hope that this matter can be resolved at the earliest opportunity, hopefully before South Sudan celebrates the first anniversary of its independence. Really, you want to celebrate the first anniversary in a peaceful environment. The border agreement we need, of course, it will take time to demarcate the border. But if we can agree...
How much time would it take, do you think? More than a year?
Well, really, it could be. But it's what you need to do is agree in principle that the border will be demarcated by joint commission under UN supervision.
Yes.
And whether it takes 1 year, 2 years, I think both sides can afford to wait.
Well, but you say it on paper it's agreed, but
the map is there. There's a map.
Where does it put Heglig?
It's in the south.
Well, listeners, this is Spectrum. We're going for a break. We'll be back to stay tuned.
Everybody is a star, but some stars shine brighter. Oh yeah, be a standout, be the star now and let your light shine through. Yeah, yeah, CIA, be a standout, be the star now and let your light shine through.
The Uganda Uganda Communications Commission is celebrating initiative and originality in the communications sector with the annual Communications Innovation Award, ACIA, on the 18th of May 2012 at the Kampala Serena Hotel. The occasion will be graced by Vina Rawat, Vice President of BlackBerry. ACIA 2012, making life easy through innovation.
John, Mike and I, we go back a bit. We knew John at the beginning, working for someone else. But he was different. He had vision, saw opportunities. He started working towards his goal, opened his own garage, and worked, learning the hard way. His reputation spread. Trust, consistency, quality. Soon people were coming to him from all parts. He made himself and his whole street prosper, and also helped friends, seeing potential in people and helping them on. But John never shouts about all his success. He's just who he is. Special.
So here's to men like John, who make a difference, who enjoy Nile Special, the rich, satisfying taste from the source. Nile Special. You've earned it.
Not for sale to persons under 18.
Accept no substitutes.
Radio 1, FM 90.
Welcome back to Spectrum on Radio, and tonight on Spectrum, the warring parties in the Sudan conflict resort to diplomacy. What do they expect from neighboring countries and Uganda? In particular, our guest tonight, Honorable David Amol, South Sudan Embassy in Uganda. He's this humanitarian attache. We are also joined by Ambassador Harod Achema, retired Ugandan diplomat, also consultant on international affairs. He's got experience in the diplomatic service on the Ugandan side, more than 30 years. You two will be able to call in and contribute to this discussion. Let's talk about the oil briefly. Ambassador Amol, talk to us about the oil. There was that issue about the pipeline. All your oil has been exported through the north. Now you marked boundaries. Now, why are you exporting your oil from? Give us some background on that.
No, and the issue of the oil, of course, is like any other resources all over the world.
Yeah.
And it depends on whom do you want to trade with. It is not compulsory that we have to transport our oil through northern Sudan. But we were trying at least to give them something small, because all the oil well got away with us by July
75%.
96%. 96% got away with us peacefully, and that is why we love that part of the country, because we have got what we want. And when we told them, okay, now you will be left with nothing, but what you can do, you come in and trade a little bit, you get something small. Now they are even talking of the pipeline. The pipeline does not belong to the northern Sudan. Yes. The pipeline was constructed using the oil money.
That's true. But it passes through their territory.
And this is what we are telling them, including their masters, the Chinese. We told them that, look here, the main part of the oil pipe passes in territory of South Sudan. Can we cut out ours? Our pipe?
Yes. Where do you want to take it?
What do you want to use it for? If we cut ours, then what do you want to use it for? And then this is what we are telling them. We told them, okay, we'll give you $10 per barrel. And this is the standard.
Yes.
At least for brotherhood.
Yes.
And then they said, no, they need $36 per barrel. And we told them, okay. Now you go and talk to, we have heard that Kenya has got oil or Uganda has got oil. You go and talk to them if they will allow you.
At $36 a barrel.
That much. Because you know, in business you have to negotiate on your part. This is what we have told them. But all in all, they went in. It is part of the outstanding. They went in and confiscated oil worth money, $2.8 billion. Dollars. And then they came to Addis Ababa in the month of February, asking the AU and the IGAD countries to push us in order to give them money. And we gave them money as a sign of solidarity. We gave them 2.6. All of this much went along with them. And still, they still live on our oil. Which is not allowed, stealing is not allowed in Syria. Otherwise, they could have got their hands cut off.
God can cut them. Ambassador Achema, I'd like you to give us the context of how Uganda can help. But before we do that, let's get some history of this whole conflict. Honorable David Amol, talk to us about how these are Arabs, you are black Africans, you are living in one country, you've coexisted for many years. Give us some history to that.
You know, even the current place called Middle East.
Yes.
It is not, let us start with the Middle East. It is not the Middle East. This was Africa. If it is the Middle East, whose east is it? If the West remain in the West, then whose east is it? Then this is our land. You talk of Cairo, even the word Cairo of Egypt.
Yes.
These are the ancient African, black African, the Tutankhamun, the Pharaoh Tut.
Yes.
He's a black man.
The Tutankhamun, he was a pharaoh.
These are pharaoh. These are African. They are
black.
South Sudanese,
yes.
Not just black. South Sudanese.
Yes.
Because what happened in Mesopotamia in the ancient time?
Yes.
You come to Meroe. They went and said it's called Meroe.
Yes.
The civilization of Meroe.
Yes.
And then you come to Khartoum.
Which is Khartoum.
Yeah, they call it Khartoum. It is our own.
It's your own word.
Yeah, because it's a Dinka word, meaning the meeting point of two rivers, the Blue Nile and the White Nile. It is called Khartoum. Kir is a river, like the name for our president Salva Kiir. The Kir is a river.
Yes, it's a Nile.
It's a Nile. And even the word Nile was corrupted. It is a Nile word called Nam.
What does that mean?
Nam is water. In Achole is Nam.
That's true.
Go on.
It is the Nile.
So how did the Arabs come into the mix?
They came after the death of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is 17 BC. After all, the wicked Arabs were pushed into Africa, and that's why if you go to the Islamic calendar,
yes,
it is called Eid al-Hijrah. Al-Hijrah, a festival. No, Hijrah is a refuge.
A refugee.
They were ordered by the Prophet to go and take refuge.
What have they done?
There were wars among themselves in the Far East, in the present Afghanistan, of who would be the successor of Prophet Muhammad. They thought maybe he's a king, but this is a prophet. Nobody succeeds a prophet, unless if you are selected by the Holy Spirit. And then they fought among themselves. The wicked Arabs were pushed into Africa.
The wicked Arabs were sent to Africa?
Yeah. Some of them came and settled in Morocco. Some went to the current Egypt. Some went up to Yemen. And this is how they came to our land. And then this is what, let me tell you one thing. When you see this Luos group here and then the 42 tribes of Uganda, if you ask them, why did you leave South Sudan? Now you give them the geography of why they left South Sudan. And then they will tell you they were pushed. They are not coming here to come and stay along wandering here.
They were forced to come.
They were pushed away by those wars because they were part of the bigger kingdom. In Marawi, in Kush, in Dungula, in Cairo.
All right. Okay, interesting there. Let's hear from you, Ambassador.
Yes.
Achema. How can countries such as Uganda help in this thing?
Well, it is in
our... Give us the perspective of how they would be affected, refugees and so on. Give us some...
Yes, in fact, as I said earlier, this conflict is a serious threat to our peace, not just in Uganda, but in the region. And so it is in our own national interest to support, firstly, the efforts the diplomatic efforts which the United Nations Security Council is making to solve this conflict. And secondly, we must also insist that the northern Sudan, should abide by the terms of the Charter of the United Nations. This is the Charter states that member states must solve bilateral regional problems peacefully. Peaceful settlement of disputes is one of the tenets of the Charter of the United Nations, and both Sudan and South Sudan are signatories to the Charter. So they are bound to settle their bilateral conflict or disputes peacefully. And so it is first and foremost in the interest of the two countries to solve this problem. I think this problem can be resolved peacefully, because it's not a military problem. It is a political problem, and it's a border problem. And if there's commitment on both sides to demarcate this border under UN supervision, it can be done.
And they should do it.
They must do it. And so what I would advise the government of Uganda is to encourage both sides to accept a peaceful formula under the aegis of the United Nations. A few weeks back, I had some general threatening war, and that is not helpful. You see, war is a last resort. War is something which must be avoided. War is not the first thing you think of when there's a conflict. War must only be considered when all the peaceful diplomatic avenues have been exhausted and have been found wanting. So, and I'm sure our brothers in South Sudan are committed to peaceful settlement. That's why they withdrew. They heeded appeals from the Pope,
from Panto.
They heeded appeals from Secretary General, and they have withdrawn.
All right.
So really, we must encourage those peaceful efforts, and I am confident that they will achieve the desired results.
How about the other countries? How are they coming in? Tanzania, some people say this is a conflict that will suck in 10 countries.
Yes.
Up to 10 countries.
In fact, to add to what I just said, I think Uganda should work together with other members of this African community. I think it will be more effective if Uganda and other 4 members of the East African community join hands, to put pressure on Khartoum, to honor the resolution of the Security Council. And of course, the other thing which perhaps one would add is that, South Sudan has applied for membership of the East African community. And we want to welcome South Sudan. Yes, I think this incident is it's a detraction, but also it is also a pointer that it is in the national interest of South Sudan to be a member of this big organization.
So, but they always look forward to it. I think
yes,
they always had this countdown clock. I'm told
So as an incoming member, I think we have an obligation to support South Sudan and to put pressure on Khartoum, to heed the warnings and the message from the Security Council.
All right, we'll get to hear from the listeners, but before we do that, Honorable David Amol, talk to us about China's position in this mix. There in the north, there in the south. They've just given you $8 billion to spend over a 5-year period building infrastructure, roads and other things. Are they your friends?
They are our friends as far now. Because what happened, China came to wake up at the latest stage. Because they were not told exactly whose oil was it. But after all, they came to know that the oil indeed belonged to the people of South Sudan.
So they made friends with you?
Yeah, they are making friends with us. Of course, they have to do so, or else we can sell our oil to anybody. Even here in Kampala, we can sell. Oil can be sold anywhere. So this is why they are saying that we'll give you this reparation loan, and we got the money. And we are going to build even the bigger pipeline that we had already signed an agreement or a memorandum of understanding with Kenya and Ethiopia.
To take it to Lamu?
To take it to Lamu. Yeah, if the matter of a fight will bring another fight between us. Because we did not want to fight anybody.
So it's the old pipeline, they can do something else.
We'll forget about it. But what I know, they will maybe transport what with it.
The pipeline?
Yeah.
Well, we don't know. We leave that to them to decide.
Okay.
Let's talk, before we hear from the listener, let's talk about the Uganda-Sudan relations. Some traders have complained that they're mistreated in Juba. Ugandan traders. Why do you do that? We are your brothers.
This is a
Ugandans
lie.
Are your brothers. Why?
This is a lie. It is a lie, and it is a way of the Kampala traders of trying to sideline others from the profit making in the business.
They sell a lot of ganja in that place.
In the market, somebody will come and tell you, no, don't go on to the other avenue. Go and buy from Kechenyi, or you go to... And then they will come themselves and sell it.
It's a market strategy. They're saying Sudanese are bad people, but they're there.
How can we discriminate the Ugandan? They are even bringing salt Leave alone water.
Leave alone gonja. They sell salt as well.
Salt. They bring made in Kampala.
Ugandans sell salt in Sudan.
We said we will never buy anything made in Khartoum again, even a leather blade. No. We better buy from the rest of Africa and we'll give them the money.
So we don't
have a problem with that.
Ugandans bring salt.
Yeah.
Kenyans bring
They bring matoke, they bring
beans.
Everything, beans. You tell the Ugandans bring push tomorrow, they will come with it. And in this, I actually want those who would want to spoil this trade.
They should
be reported to the police immediately, either here or in Juba.
Well, you've heard it from your mouth.
Yeah.
You gotta sell beans and matoke in South Sudan. This is Spectrum on Radio 1. You can call in now. Our numbers 0414-348-111, 0312-260-390, 0312-261-390. When you call in, please tell us your name and where you are calling from. Spectrum, hello?
Spectrum.
Yes, sir, your name? Yes, Mr. Riondo. Your line got cut there. You can still call back. Our number is 0414-348-111, 0312-260-390, 0312-261-390. Spectrum, hello? Yes, sir, your name? Good evening, your name? Yes. Spectrum, hello?
Hello, Edmond, how are you?
Very well, thanks. Your name?
I'm called Ahmed.
Ahmed, yes. Spectrum, hello? Yes, sir, your name?
My name is Mulindo Mwonge.
Yes, Mr. Mulindo Mwonge. Yes, you're live on Spectrum.
Yeah, so Thank you very much for hosting our brothers. My first appeal.
We've lost you, Mr. Mlindo Mwonge. You can still call back in. We lost you. Your line got cut from your side. Please call back in if you can. Spectrum, hello? 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 Good evening, your name? Come again?
Joseph is my name. I'm calling from Kampala.
Yes, Joseph? All right, let's get back to the studio. Yes, Honorable David Amol, you can respond to the questions.
No, first of all, I will respond to the last question and from Joseph. Joseph, we are not taking the whole of Ugandan people to South Sudan. I will never invite them to come all. What we are doing is that those who have something to do will ever be there and do whatever they want to do. And we are confident to protect their interests because we are doing the same business with them. Two, for those who Southern Sudanese who live here, they are protected by law. And that's what I'm saying. And if I tell you that the mistreatment of Ugandans is not ever there, it is what do you think about the Southern Sudanese who can also die here? Do we always come and say, why did they die here? That is not the case. Nobody has ever treated anybody, and if there are some isolated cases, these are some of the isolated cases, and the government does not have a full scale of a way of perception or perceiving Ugandan in that way. If you don't want, don't go to South Sudan.
Can I add something to that?
Yes.
There's in fact a joint tribunal, I think in Uganda it's under Ministry of Trade, comprising Ugandans and South Sudanese, which looks into all complaints from both sides. You know, Ugandans who may not be paid for whatever they have sold, or people who have been harassed, whatever. There is actually a mechanism to address those problems, and it is being handled under the Ministry of Trade.
All right, continue.
And the other question of
Mr. Mlindo Mwonge, the Deputy Ambassador of
the Deputy Ambassador of Sudan in Kenya. You know, the war that we fought with the Northern Sudan, we did not fight it with Iraq or with anybody else. This is the war that was inflicted on us since the time immemorial. These people, they came, they sold our grandparents as slaves. Alright? And if you are listening to this program, you should have to go back and read the Trans-Arab Sahara Trade. Whom did they sell? Angels? They were selling Africa. They were selling the current people who lives in Kenya, in Uganda, in Tanzania, in the whole of Africa. And then these are not the new enemies to us. But what do? Do we have to come when it is late? If we come, then we leave that part of the country. Will we not push the rest out? If we can start from Harod, the nearby. tomorrow you will come and get the rest from Arua coming to Pokwach. Because this is a massive, and this is how the Africans were dislodged from their own countries. This is what we don't want. That's why we are taking. What happened if you watch the Tom and Jerry cartoon? If Tom squeezed Jerry to the wall, Jerry will accept the fight.
Is that so? I don't watch that.
You have to watch it. You have to watch it. Jerry will accept the fight at the end. And this is why we are accepting the fight. It is not that we are talking about war. Any war that will fight will be a war that is imposed on us.
Absolutely.
And we'll never shy away of fighting it, because fighting is a last resort, is also a holy violence.
All right. Ahmed spoke about Abiy. He says, after Heglig, Abiy is next. Then you'll talk about Miseria. You have Arabs and Dinkas there.
Now, indeed, Ahmed, thank you very much. And this is the question of why I said earlier before. What I said earlier was that Khartoum is pushing 12,000 out of Kosti right
Khartoum
now.
is doing what?
He's pushing out 12,000 Southern Sudanese.
From the north?
From the north.
Some of them have been to the
leave
south?
up to May 20th.
This month?
Yeah, this month.
Some of them have stepped in the south?
Some of them are just getting out of it. And then what happened is that they are doing this in order for us to do the same.
Yes.
Because they have almost 2 to 3 million hades, the Masseria that Ahmed mentioned. And you have the people from, they are called Murahilin. You know, they come with the hades to come and found a grazing land.
Yes.
For their animals in south of Sudan.
They are
we're not going to do
You're not going to chase them away.
We're not going to send them away.
Right.
They will remain there, and whatever Khartoum will do is not what we will do.
All right.
And also, Ahmed, I did not deny the chance or the question of whether
North
there are
blacks.
We have a majority of the black in the north than in the south.
Right.
Up to now, and that's what I said before, the Nubi, the Four, the Punch, the Dungula, and the rest. These are African race.
Exactly.
Ambassador, well, let's hear from you as we wind up this interesting discussion.
Absolutely. Well, let me first of all thank all the callers for their comments and questions. Maybe I just specifically address myself to the first caller. I think he either misheard me or misrepresented my position. I did not express support for war as a long-serving diplomat. Certainly,
yes,
war is not an agenda. My position is very clear. If I had the power, I would have abolished the military. I think
you've said here before. Every person who has ever said it.
I have no support for. We don't need an army. We don't need
Well, even God has an army. Anyhow, go on.
God is sovereign. God can do whatever he wants. So basically, my position is that this dispute must be resolved peacefully through diplomatic means, and efforts already underway at the United Nations, at the African Union, and these efforts we should support and encourage.
Thank you very much, dear guest tonight, Honorable David Amol, South Sudan Embassy in Uganda. He is the Humanitarian Attache at the South Sudan Embassy in Uganda. One time I went looking for it, I found it by default because there's no signpost outside. Maybe you'll put one out there. Thank you very much, Ambassador Harod Achema, retired Ugandan diplomat, also a consultant on international affairs. Thank you for tuning in. I've been your host, Edmond. Kizito. Spectrum will be back tomorrow. Following right now is the news in English. Do stay tuned to Radio 1.
Sebo, I'm looking for David. I've tried his old number, but in vain. David left this place a longer time ago. Anyway, just slope down there, and then you move forward. Continue, you'll find the lake behind the mountain. When you reach in a corner, you'll find a person. When you find that person, please, just